Ever gaze up at the night sky and wonder what lies beyond those stars we all know? Like, what secrets does deep space hold? Past, the planets we learned about as kids, past the asteroid belt, what's really out there? Well, a lot more than we might think, and that's exactly what we're diving into today. The world of deep space probes, those robotic explorers, venturing out into the vast unknown, guided by brilliant minds right here on Earth. And we're using this awesome book to guide us, Cosmic Voyagers, a deep dive into deep space exploration by Dr. Emily Carter. She's a leading expert in deep space exploration. And her book really gets into the nuts and bolts of these incredible missions. Now, I got to admit, I was that kid, you know, the one staying up late reading all about the Voyager probes. Those ones with a golden record, carrying those messages from Earth. I don't know, it just sparked this sense of wonder in me. Like, what if someone out there finds this thing? I even built a model Voyager out of cardboard and tinfoil, of course. My parents, they were so thrilled when they cleaned my room.
But hey, you can't put a price on scientific curiosity, right? But seriously, the book, it breaks down this whole idea of deep space probes way better than I ever could. They're not just fancy cameras sent out to snap pretty pictures, though those pictures are pretty amazing. They're more like self-contained labs, carrying all these instruments to measure everything, from radiation levels to magnetic fields, all while enduring crazy temperatures and mind-boggling distances. The engineering involved is just mind-blowing. For example, in the book, Dr. Carter talks about the Juno probe. It's currently orbiting Jupiter. Did you know Jupiter has these insanely intense radiation belts? It's like sending a probe through a cosmic hurricane. To survive that, Juno has this special radiation-shielded vault to protect its instruments. It's basically wearing a lead apron, but a super high-tech one. And get this, the probe has to orbit Jupiter in a very specific way, just to minimize its exposure to the radiation. It's like threading a needle through a cosmic storm. But what I find even more fascinating is how these probes, they extend our senses.
So far beyond what we can experience ourselves. We're talking millions, even billions of miles. It's like having a robotic avatar out there, sending back all this data that changes how we understand, well, everything. Think about the Voyager missions. Those probes have been traveling for over 40 years. Voyager 1 is actually the farthest human-made object from Earth. It's cruising through interstellar space right now. It's mind-blowing, right? This little piece of tech, carrying a message from humanity. Out there, in the vastness of space. The book actually has this whole chapter about the Voyager probes, and it's incredible just reading about all the discoveries they've made. They revealed so much about the outer planets and their moons, stuff we could only dream of before. Like, did you know they found active volcanoes on Io, one of Jupiter's moons? Volcanoes in space, that's insane. And then there's Titan, Saturn's moon. It has these lakes and rivers, but they're made of methane. Methane, it's like a completely different world out there. And that's just the beginning. We haven't even touched on Cassini's amazing images of Saturn's rings, or New Horizons flyby of Pluto.
Revealing that heart-shaped glacier on its surface. There's just so much out there to discover. And these probes, they're our eyes and ears, bringing back these incredible stories from the edges of our solar system. But, it's not all about the pretty pictures and the wow factor. These discoveries, they really challenge us, challenge what we think is possible about what it even means to be a planet, about where life might exist. Dr. Carter, in her book, she talks about how studying these distant worlds, it can actually help us understand our own planet better. It's like, whoa, that's kind of deep, right? Like, take Enceladus as a moon of Saturn. Cassini discovered that it has these geysers spewing water vapor and organic molecules into space, which means there's probably a liquid or water ocean under its icy surface. And where there's water, well, there could be life. Now, that doesn't mean there is life on Enceladus, but it does, raise some interesting questions about the possibility of life in places we never thought possible, even in our own solar system. It's pretty wild, right? And that's just one example.
These deep space probes are constantly pushing the boundaries of what we thought we knew. They're making us rethink our place in the universe. It's humbling
in a way, but also incredibly exciting. Speaking of exciting, let's talk about some of the missions planned for the future. Dr. Carter dedicates a whole section of her book to this. And let me tell you, the future of deep space exploration is looking bright, like really bright. There's the Europa Clipper mission, set to launch in a few years. It's going to orbit Jupiter's moon, Europa, which, get this, might have more water than all of Earth's oceans combined. Seriously, it's not just any water. It's thought to be salty liquid water. Under Europa's icy shell, the Clipper, it's going to be studying Europa's surface, the ice shell, and that potential ocean, looking for signs of hydrothermal vents. They're like underwater hot springs. On Earth, those vents support entire ecosystems, just teeming with life. So who knows what we might find in Europa's ocean. Then there's the Dragonfly mission. This one's headed to Titan, Saturn's methane-rich moon. But here's the cool part. Dragonfly is a drone.
Yeah, a drone on Titan.
Flying around, taking samples, analyzing the atmosphere, exploring all these different locations. It's like something straight out of science fiction. Except, it's real. Now, these are just two examples, of the incredible missions we have planned. There are also proposals for missions to Uranus and Neptune, to the Kuiper Belt, even beyond our solar system. The possibilities are pretty much endless. It really makes you think, What are the implications of all these discoveries? What does it mean for us, for humanity, if we find life on another world? What are our responsibilities as we keep venturing further into the cosmos? Dr. Carter, she touches on these questions in her book, and it's definitely something to ponder. Are we just explorers, driven by curiosity, or do we have a deeper obligation to be like stewards of the universe, to protect these pristine environments from contamination, to think about the ethical implications of what we're doing? I remember back in college, I took this philosophy course that focused on space exploration. We spent weeks debating the ethics of sending probes to other worlds, the potential for messing up alien ecosystems. It was heavy stuff, but it made me really think about the bigger picture, about the impact we have even when we're sending robots to do the exploring. And that brings us to another fascinating part of these deep space missions. Communication. Think about it. We're talking about distances so vast that it takes hours, sometimes even days, for a signal to get back to Earth. It's like sending a text to someone on another planet and waiting a whole day for a reply, talking about delayed gratification. And it's not just distance. These probes, they're operating in extreme environments, radiation, interference, all the stuff that can disrupt communication. It's a real testament to the engineers and scientists, the people who design and run these missions. In her book, Dr. Carter, she makes this amazing analogy about communicating with deep space probes. She says it's like trying to have a phone conversation in a hurricane. But the hurricane is made of cosmic rays and solar flares.
Oh, wow.
Wild, right? Just think about the challenges they have to overcome just to stay in touch with these robotic explorers. And, sometimes things go wrong. Probes go silent. Missions face unexpected challenges. Budgets get cut. Dreams get put on hold. It's a reminder that deep space exploration, well, it's not for the faint of heart. It's a long game. It requires patience, persistence, and a willingness to accept the unknown. But the rewards, they can be truly extraordinary. Every new discovery, every image from a distant world, it expands our understanding of the universe and our place in it. Okay, I could go on and on about this, but I know we need to wrap things up. Before we do, let me just say, if you're even a little bit interested in space, I highly recommend Dr. Carter's book. It's a deep dive, no pun intended, into the world of deep space probes, and it's a fantastic read. All right, that's it for our exploration of deep space probes, at least for today. Next time you look up at the night sky, think about those robotic explorers out there, pushing the boundaries of what we know, venturing into the great unknown, and sending back these incredible stories. From the far reaches of our solar system, it's enough to make you realize just how much we still have to discover and how much more there is to learn about this universe we call home. But, all this talk about robots exploring space, it kind of makes you wonder, where are we going?
When will humans finally venture past the moon, out to those distant worlds these probes keep showing us? It's funny, I remember watching all those old sci-fi movies as a kid, the ones where, humans were just zipping around the galaxy in spaceships. It all seemed so inevitable. But the reality is, as Dr. Carter points out in her book, it's a lot more complicated than that. Sending humans to deep space, I mean, it's not just about strapping ourselves to a bigger rocket. It's about like creating life support systems, ones that can work for years, and protecting astronauts from all that radiation out there, and figuring out how to deal with like the mental challenges of spending so much time in space. It's a huge, huge undertaking, a giant leap, not just for technology, but for like understanding how resilient humans are and our ability to, adapt to these crazy environments. But you know what? As hard as it is, there's this part of me that still thinks we can do it. We humans, we're explorers at heart, right? We've always pushed the limits, always searching for new frontiers. And space, well, it's the ultimate frontier, isn't it?
Dr. Carter actually ends her book on this note. And it's pretty inspiring. She talks about how everything we've learned from these deep space probes is not just about understanding the universe. It's about understanding ourselves. It's about pushing the limits of what we can achieve. And who knows, maybe someday all these robotic explorers, they'll be paving the way for us for human footprints on Mars, on Europa, on Titan, maybe even versa. Okay, maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but hey, a little cosmic optimism never hurt, right? The point is, these deep space probes, they're more than just machines. They're like symbols of our curiosity, our ambition, our need to keep learning. They're out there right now, exploring the universe for us, expanding our horizons, inspiring us to dream bigger. And that, I think, is pretty amazing. So next time you look up at the night sky, just remember, those robotic explorers are out there, venturing into the unknown, sending back stories from these faraway worlds, and reminding us that the universe is full of wonder, full of mystery, full of possibilities. And who knows, maybe someday we'll be part of those possibilities too.
Well, that's it for our deep dive into the world of deep space probes. Thanks for joining me, and until next time, keep looking up and keep exploring.